I get a phone call from her. She's in an ambulance on the way to a specialty children's hospital because he has to go in for emergency surgery. Like, holy shit, like everything's crumbling around me at this time. Like, what do I do? I literally sent out we're using Slack at that company time. I sent out a Slack message to my team and I said, hey, until I reach out and mention or communicate with anybody here, I no longer exist. I came back 3 weeks later and guess what? The company was still there. While I was gone, they hired 2 more people. They still sent out invoices. We still collected money, and I still got money direct deposited into my personal checking account at the end of the week.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Return on Investment MF channel. It's your host, Zack ROI Williams, and this is the information your haters don't want you to hear about. Becoming the most badass version of yourself in business. What's up, guys? It's Zack ROI Williams here with my man Tomas Keenan. He is, first of all, an incredible man, badass husband, and just a killer dad as well. It was really cool. I just got the honor of being able to watch him perform live at Apex Live, which is an event thrown by the Goon Squad and Ryan Stewman. It was a lot of fun. Got to see, all of the Goon Squad get up there, speak, but what was really cool is seeing them actually perform and do what they love to do and getting to see their entire families there to be able to support them. So it was a really special moment. I had a lot of fun. Tomas has a badass book out, Unfuck Your Business. I just got done reading it, and I actually started reading it prior to Apex Live before I had the honor to be able to see him speak. So it was just really cool to kind of not only see some of the values that are spoken in the book, but actually see them lived out in his life specifically. So it was a lot of fun. But without further ado, Tomas Keenan, why don't you give the listeners a little bit about who you are and what you're about, and we'll hop into a couple questions I got for you.
Yeah, man. Hey, Zach, I appreciate that. I always like to start this way because typically I'm the podcast host and I'm on the other side of the table here. I want to just say thank you so much for getting me here and inviting me to your show. It's something I'm very grateful for, man. I really appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
As far as who I am and what I do, man, that's a complex question because I started off as a dude who worked with his hands for 20-something years. Fell in love with the car audio business. Love cars, love music, and decided, or actually found out around the age of 15 or 16, that I could combine those two. And that was my true passion for a number of years. Went out, did that, built some really cool, crazy shit. You ever watched Pimp My Ride on MTV back in the day? I was doing all that kind of crazy crap. It's still an industry that I'm involved in. As a matter of fact, I leave tomorrow and I fly out to Vegas. I'm speaking at one of their events over the weekend, which is cool. So I still get to give back to those people who are still in that community where I came from, kind of stay connected to the roots. But here's the deal. I started my first business when I was 21 years old. And I knew nothing about business. I was the technician. You wanted some badass shit installed in your car? Cool, I was your cat, right? I knew it. Nobody could do it better than I could at that time in my life. So I started that business and I struggled real hard. I didn't realize that there were so many challenges in business. I didn't realize that you needed to hire people. I didn't realize I didn't even get to pay sales tax in a retail store. Right. So that first bill came in. It was like, oh, wow, I actually owe the government money. That's not cool. So struggled there heavily, wound up crashing and burning that business after 5 years, went to work for someone for a couple of years to get back on my feet, wound up getting married. And at that point in time, I was like, hey, man, I got the urge to go and do things over again. Let me go ahead and crank up business number 2, which I did with a partner. And we stuck through that one 11 years. So if anyone's actually reading the book, Unfuck Your Business, I talk heavily about not only my first business, but my second one as well. But the context of that book is I'm still in that business, Top Class Installations. That was the name of it, because I was at the time when I wrote it. And that business is where I actually I really learned to be a business owner, a leader, someone who built systems and processes, someone who learned how to scale a company, not just the guy who put the shit in the vehicle. So that makes sense. Oh
yeah, dude. No, it's awesome. And it was cool to see that progression. And this will kind of lead me into the first question that I would like to go over, but it's crazy because you're so heavy on something that is so fundamental that it almost seems like when someone says hey, you you should really focus on your core values. People are like, nah, like that, dude, that's step one, bro. Like I'm way past step one. And in fact, like, I went through that experience too. I'm now on what I would like to consider my first real business. I've started several businesses in the past that I'm going to call those learning phases, like it's same thing, bro. Like there was some of the basic shit that I had no idea what I was doing. I just had a good idea and I went out and did it. But I'm very heavy on you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And, I've got some haters and I've acquired some haters along the way. And, one of my favorites. So like one of the first companies was It's What We Do clothing. And it's literally tattooed shoulder blade to shoulder blade, this big on my back. And I had this like hater come at me sideways one time. And he's like, how the fuck are you like walking around with a reminder of a failed business on your back? And I was like, dude, that business was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Cause first of all, I fucking went out there and did it. I tried it, and what I learned from that, I don't look at things as failures. I look at them as learning opportunities. And I learned so much valuable information, which is the foundation of why this business is now so successful. It's because I didn't sit around and, oh, woe is me. I failed a business. I took that information as a learning opportunity and applied it. So, yeah, going back to the basics and the foundation, you are so heavy on core values. And I'm not even gonna lie, even while I was reading it, I was like, am I really about to fucking read an entire book about core values? Like, this is such a waste of time. But the transition in my mindset from starting that book to getting to the very end was I was like, I fucking see it now. Dude, after I finished that book, I fired some clients because I realized that they were not in line with my core values. And in fact, now I believe in it so much. I literally had a call over the weekend with someone that I'm kind of coaching. And I was like, bro, like, you got to fire some people. You got to get, strong on your core values. Cause now I see it, like my eyes are open to, it's like the law of attraction and the 80-20 rule, like kind of all compounds. Cause like when you actually start applying and actually holding true to your core values internally, you start reflecting and noticing and realizing and attracting other people that are like-minded. And even though, like, again, going back where it's like, man, this is so basic. Yeah, I get my core values, but it's one of those things like, yeah, you can say them, but once you start realizing the meanings behind why those are your core values, bro, it's a whole nother ball game. So yeah, I'd like to just, I don't want you to have to listen, shameless plugs, go get this book. It's on Amazon. Incredible. We're going to drop the link to it in the description. Unfuck Your Business. I guarantee you 90% of the people, 99, probably even 90, even higher than that, are not applying core values the way this book teaches. And it's instrumental in mindset changes. But anyways, what is like the baseline core values? What does that mean to Tomas Keenan?
Man, it's even in my personal life and my family life, they're there. And they're very clear. They're very distinct from each other. But those are how we coach others in and around our business. It's how I coach my kids, right? It's how my wife holds me accountable, how I hold my wife accountable. And it also gives me direction when I come to a crossroads in life. Right? I talked about that on stage at Apex Live. I mean, I got the opportunity of a lifetime to come over here and work shoulder to shoulder with Ryan Stewman every day of my life if I wanted to. And similar to you, bro, like I've been a business starter my whole life. Okay, this is I don't know. I probably got 7 or 8 under my belt at this point in time. Some of those crashed and burned. Yep, some of those did pretty damn good. Some of those little holding companies off to the side that are doing their own thing over there for other reasons we don't want to get into during this podcast. But the opportunity was, hey, I can get to come over here and do my thing with Ryan Stewman, or I continue building this other business right here that has zero fucking guarantee. Right. And that's part of the beauty of entrepreneurship, is taking that leap of faith. Listen, man, I've done that before. That's cool. But being super clear on my core value, which is I help others succeed in business. That's like one of the top ones. Right. And also being clear on my mission and purpose, which is, man, I got to go and help these other people. I got to go help Stewman make this company better. If I help Stewman make this company better, guess what? I'm helping other people in business. Not only do I get to help him in business, I get to help our clients in business. And guess what? That also helps me in business personally. So that was kind of the approach I took to it. And if I hadn't had that clarity right there, it would have been a really tough decision to make when the time came.
No, dude, I feel that. And it's cool too, because I've started noticing the more and more I get involved, with the members of Apex and even, Goon Squad. Like I interviewed Drewby yesterday, and it was cool too, because like, one of his big things was just putting out, positivity in the world and putting out just free, help, because it's that law of attraction. He's going to do that. And ultimately, somehow, some way, shape, or form, it comes back. And so it's cool once you start realizing that you can put yourself in a higher level of entrepreneurs and business owners, on how the real ones fucking actually do believe in this shit and are, to their actual core, these specific types of people that they've set themselves out to be. So I definitely think the core values has been huge for me. It's kind of like, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Kind of an odd, description of it. But the way I look at it was like the core values I had at the time, just because I did it, because that's just who I thought I was kind of like me having a fish. And being able to eat that day. But once I actually dove down and figured out why that was actually my core values, and actually why that made up some of the interactions and actions that I produced in my day-to-day life, that's when I was able to learn how to fish, because that's when I was able to learn to help make those core values better every day and focus on bettering myself to the core. And when I'm working on myself to the core, everything else that I'm interacting with now, since completing this book, has just multiplied an unrealistic amount of opportunities.
Yep. So I got a lot of inspiration from a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And in that book, the premise is get rid of the trivial many and focus on the essential few. All right. If you read the book cover to cover, it's a cool ass story, but that's what he's going to tell you in the book. And he tells it a lot nicer than I just said it too, by the way. But that right there is also what core values do for you. Because if you are making your decisions, hey, should I go interact with that person? Should I go do business with that person? Should I hire this person? If you are making those decisions based upon your core values, you're going to get rid of the trivial many and focus on the essential few.
Nice. No, I agree with that 100%. I'm definitely going to have to hit that book up. So part of, like, I guess, learning those core values and actually applying them kind of leads me into the next question or point that I'd like to talk about. And that is, not all work is good work. And again, this is something else that I've learned after completing the book and going through it and actually downloading the worksheets that you had on actually getting your actual core values on paper, as well as like your mission. Is, if it's not work that really that falls in line with your core values or your mission, you shouldn't be doing it, at least in my opinion, or that's my take. So what's your thoughts on not all work is good work?
There's a difference here. And one of my coaches I hired a number of years ago, I still have this stuck in my head because he drilled it into my head so hard. There's a difference between busyness and business. And most of us we just busy, man. We're doing these like almost non-essential tasks. And sometimes they are essential tasks. If you've been through the book, I got a time study in there. And one of the things that I have these high performing entrepreneurs do when they, especially do people come in and coach with me, I don't care where you think you are in business. The first two things we're doing is getting clarity around your core values, but we're going to revamp them, and you're going through a time study. I don't care if you've been in business for 200 fucking years and you are the GOAT. Like, we're going to do it because I guarantee you I'm going to find some dirt right there, and we're going to be able to make it better.
Always room for improvement.
Always, man. So go in and study your time. Where are you spending that time? And and there's 4 buckets. If you remember my exercise, I got $10 an hour buckets. I've got 100, I've got 1,000 and $10,000 an hour time buckets. Most small business owners are stuck in that $10 and $100 an hour bucket, right? So $10 an hour task is like sending an email to the client, get the schedule ready, low level stuff like that. It's stuff that may or may not be essential to your business operating. And sometimes even if it is essential, it doesn't mean it has to be you doing it.
100%.
Right? You can go and hire someone, go hire a VA, go hire somebody to get in there, go get someone with a pulse whose core values align, get them in there and get them trained up on how you're doing that stuff. And if you keep doing and repeating that process over and over again, you're going to eventually get yourself out of that $10 an hour bucket. Okay, cool. Now I'm focused on the 100 and the 1,000. Again, backfill yourself, get yourself out of that $100 an hour bucket. Because if you're a true business owner, you should be operating only in either the $1,000 and or the $10,000 an hour bucket, right? And the $1,000 bucket is like, for instance, you right now, this is a power move. You're hosting a podcast, right? Same thing with me. This is a $1,000 an hour activity, because yes, you and I aren't getting paid for this right now, but this action that we're doing now, 90, 180, 365 days from now, is going to turn into a potential sale from someone who reaches out and sees either one of us on this podcast, right? That's the kind of activities that are $1,000 an hour tasks. It's you working on the business, not in the business. 100%. The $10,000 an hour shit, that's the most misunderstood one. That's you focusing on you and your family. That's you taking care of yourself. That's you going on vacation with your kids. That's, you know, if you're into dirt bikes, man, that's you taking the dirt bikes out and taking your son out or something. Like, I don't care what you're into, just that's that kind of shit. And it's a very, very misunderstood bucket. It really is. You can't make enough money to replace those activities that happen there. That's why it's $10,000 an hour, right? Like, you can't make up enough time to go spend with your family or your loved ones, or your mom, or your dad, whoever it is in your life that you care about or cares about you.
No, man, I love that, because you've got to have time. So many of my listeners know this, but you may not. So I don't work on Fridays. I went through massive burnout, entrepreneurial burnout, just a couple of months ago, and it was the best and worst thing to ever happen to me. I have been putting in, 16, 18-hour days, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and I ended up getting burned out. And what pissed me off more than anything was it was in the 21st, after our 21st month in business. Our 21st month in business, we had our first 6-figure month, which was huge for me. It's a goal. It was been a goal of mine for so long, and for so long before I even got initiated into the business, like, it felt like a dream, right? But anyways, I hit it, and I ended up going through burnout. And so this was a way for me to find a way that works for me. This isn't going to work for everyone. That I now, my daughter's in school Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So she's in school. So I take the day off on Fridays, and it's mine and my wife's day. We go do whatever we want. But prior to that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then a few hours on Friday before my wife wakes up, I'm putting in 54 hours. But the only way I'm able to put in those 54 hours and be fucking crucial at what I'm doing is because I have a 3-day weekend every weekend. So I like what you talk about the $10,000 buckets and how it's for you, it's for your family, it's for your mental clarity. There's there's some top performing businesses that I've focused on that some of their executive level employees are mandatory. It's mandatory that they get X amount of hours of sleep and only work X amount of hours per day, because the single decisions that their entire responsibilities are equate to hundreds of millions of dollars annually. So these CEOs and business owners give them strict guidelines to only focus on one fucking task. And so I think that's huge there. Bro, I agree 100%. I do want to ask, though, for the listeners, is someone might be listening right now and they're like, bro, I don't have the money to only focus on $1,000 tasks or this or that or whatever. How would you educate someone on, okay, you might be doing the $10 task now, but let's focus on getting that, handled, because people can afford $10, especially on websites like Fiverr and Upwork, where you can hire them per project. So you can throw someone $50 to handle all that for an entire week. And then how do you progress to focusing, okay, now for these next few months, I need to focus on the $100 tasks. And then when is it time to cut the umbilical cord and then move to the $1,000 an hour tasks?
Yeah. So step number one is you got to determine what you're worth per hour. Okay. That's the first piece of criteria that I kind of skipped over when it comes to that time study. So go ahead, hit Google. There's 100 different calculators out there on the web that help you figure out what it is, right? So figure out what you're worth per hour right now. What you are bringing into your personal bank account every year. Figure it the fuck out. Once you know that number, you know your hourly rate. Now you can start determining what needs to come off your plate. Okay. So you don't get out of the $10 an hour bucket until you're making $100 an hour or more.
Okay.
right? So $100 an hour is not bad money to a lot of people. Okay, cool. Like, how do we get there? Step one, do the time study. Record your time, 15-minute increments, 2 weeks long, and drop everything you're doing. Okay. Now you're going to go, okay, which of these activities, A, can I get off my plate completely because it's a complete waste of fucking time? Like I scrolled TikTok for 2 hours, right? Get rid of it, dude. Like get rid of it. Right? As much as I love TikTok, get rid of it. You don't need it in your life. Right. Number two, okay, which of these are $10 an hour activities that I'm doing right now? All right. So now let's say you got 5 activities that are $10 an hour activities that you are constantly doing. Out of those 5, you absolutely love doing 2 of them. The other 3, if you rather someone come and cut your fucking eyeballs out rather than do them ever again. Right. Well, guess what? Those are the 3 that you're going to get rid of first. Okay, so Tom, how do I get rid of them? All right, that's the next question. It's very simple, right? You're going to have to do it, right? And you need to do it so you've got an understanding of how it's done. And at this point, you've been doing it yourself for quite some time, which is good. Once you do it, you've got to document it. Once you have it documented, you've got a process there. And this could be, you know, a checklist. It could be bullet points. There's not to be anything fancy. Dude, it could be a fucking Loom video of you screen recording your screen of how you do something. Right. Now you have this thing. You've done it. You've documented. Now the next step of the process is you got to go delegate it to somebody else. Okay. And now if you have trouble delegating it, go ahead and find that person on Fiverr. Go find the VA. Go find someone in your local community who can come in and give you a couple hours a week and train them on the process and the system that you've just developed. Okay, because that's what you just did, by the way. It's systems and processes. It is not glorious, by the way, at all, but it's needed for you to backfill your role and get yourself out of your own way.
Dude, 100%. And it's so mandatory, bro. I saw leaps and bounds of who I was personally and professionally once I started outsourcing some of the work, because I spoke on this on one of my other episodes is, you know, that It's What We Do clothing brand I had. I thought the epitome of being a good business owner was you fucking did everything yourself. Like you get to walk around with your chest, you know, bowed out because you're like, I do this and I do that and I do everything. Like I'm the reason this motherfucker is successful. And bro, now technically I don't have to work if I don't want to, because I've learned the polar opposite as being so successful is being able to put people in place as soon as possible to handle those tasks that either A, I don't want to do, or B, that there's literally no difference. I could send an email or one of my employees could send an email and you wouldn't be able to tell who. Shit, half the time they do it better, right? You know, so it's like if there's a chance for that and you're not taking advantage of that, like it's all it's doing is holding you back.
I think people need to ask themselves a real question. Okay. And whatever you determine, whatever answer is as long as it's in your heart, that choice is yours and yours alone. You need to ask yourself if you want to build a real business or you want to just build a high paying job. 100%. Okay, there's a big fucking difference. Okay. And a lot of specialists, you have to build a job, right? If you're the car audio technician, if you're a pediatrician, if you're a dentist, if you're a lawyer, guess what? You're building yourself a high paying job. Right. Okay. Yeah, you might have people in the company who help you out, but at the end of the day, you still got to go in there and operate. You got to push the button, pull levers. Okay. Do you want to build yourself a high paying job or do you want to build a business? You, sir, have built a business because whether you show up today, tomorrow, or not, you're still going to collect money at the end of the week.
100%.
Right. That's a major difference right there.
100%.
I don't know if I talked about it in my book at all, but let me dive into this real quick.
Yeah.
My first business crash and burn. I wound up hurting my back really bad at the age of 25 or 26. I had multiple herniated discs in my back. And since I was the technician of the company, everything ceased to operate. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, which put that business out of business, essentially. Right. So fast forward, I get into my second company. It's, I think, 6 or 7 years into business at this point in time. And my twins had just been born. And my twin son, Thomas, wound up having an intestinal blockage. And it was I was living in New York at the time. It was a complete fucking disaster. There's 2 feet of snow that just fell that night. And my wife's like, hey, I got to bring him to the hospital. Something ain't right. Like that mommy, like
intuition.
The mommy antenna went out. Yeah. She's like, hey, something ain't right. We need to go now. Like, fuck. Anyway, a couple hours later, I get a phone call from her. She's in an ambulance on the way to a specialty children's hospital because he has to go in for emergency surgery. Like, holy shit. Like everything's crumbling around me at this time. Like, what do I do? So I literally sent out we're using Slack at that company at the time. I sent out a Slack message to my team, and I said, hey, until I reach out and mention or communicate with anybody here, I no longer exist. Okay. And I literally went dark for 3 weeks.
Wow.
I came back 3 weeks later, and guess what? The company was still there. Matter of fact, while I was gone, they hired 2 more people. They still sent out invoices. We still collected money, and I still got money direct deposited into my personal checking account at the end of the week.
Dude, that's so awesome. So every year for our anniversary trip, my wife and I go out of the country. That's our thing. We love the Caribbean. South of the equator is where I belong. And when I go on that trip, I don't even like do the AT&T passport. Like my phone literally does not have service. It stays completely off and stays in the luggage. I devote all my attention and time to her. And that is the week or 2 weeks prior to that is always a stressful time for me. And the week or 2 weeks after that is the most unstressful. And you're like, Zach, why are you not, do you not pick up on this? So, I'm getting better. I get less and less stressed every time I do it. But what's really cool about it is it teaches me that same thing is every time I'm like freaking out right before I go. And of course, once I get there and get a couple of Miami Vices in me, I'm good to go and not really worrying about it. But, every time it teaches me, like, I should have a lot more faith in the people that I hire, because at the end of the day, me as the CEO, if I'm hiring someone because I legitimately think that they are a good fit for my business and for that position, why the fuck would I not trust them? And same as you, every time I come back, the company has run completely smoothly. Shit, half the time, like you said, the hiring people, expanding, growing, scaling it. I come back to a better produced business. So I think that's super important. Well, I know your time's valuable, so I kind of want to hop into this last point and kind of go over this. But it's a 2-part question. What is the most valuable piece of advice you've ever heard? And how did you apply that to your life? And then what do you think, and this isn't like to incite drama or anything, but what is one of the phrases or funny little Instagram captions or whatever the fuck you want to call it? What is some advice that you strongly disagree with that is, kind of circulating and like kind of separate that from, people's minds that are listening?
Yeah, 2 things. I'll hit the second one first. Fake it till you make it. I fucking hate that. But just be real, be authentic, be you. Don't put on some fake ass bullshit. Just show up whoever the fuck you are at that point in time in your life. You will evolve if you start hanging around the right people. As far as the best advice that I got, man, I remember it clear as day. I joined Apex Entourage a couple of years back. It was May of 2018. Maybe a month or 2 after that, Ryan Stewman, he had just written a book called Social Media Mastery. Read the book, badass book. May even be in that stack.
Yep. This is so for everyone that's watching, and if you're listening to the podcast, I've got all of the Goon Squad's books. But obviously we're showcasing Tomas Keenan, but I'll drop links to these books below because these guys are fucking gangsters. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So in that book, Ryan just talks about some really awesome social media strategies, and cool. Now he throws an event. I think it was like $197, dude. I had never been to a live event, never been to Texas at that point in my life. And I was like, shit, I can't spend that $197 fast enough. Bought my ticket, made my way down to the event, and I wound up sitting in the front row, not because I wanted to, because I ain't that guy. I sat in the front row because that was the only fucking seat that was left. So I get in there, and midway through the day, Ryan's like, hey, we actually got a really special guest in the room here. And it's this dude named Matt Monero. Okay, Matt, you can Google that dude. He's a fucking beast, a powerhouse. Matt owns a really successful company called Commercial Fleet Financing down here in Dallas, Texas, right? He had just written his second book and happened to be in the audience that day. So here's this guy who owns a company that's doing over $100 million in revenue a year, who's sitting in the audience learning. He's with his social media manager of his company. He's in the audience learning from Ryan Stewman how to get better at their craft.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So Stewman's like, oh shit, Matt's here. They know each other. So he's like, hey, Matt, while you're here, man, if you want to get in front of my people and talk for about 30 minutes, that'd be awesome. Have at it. So comes to the front of the room. Matt Monero starts telling his whole story, what his book's about. Now, I'll plug his book here too, because everyone here should read it. The name of this book is called You Need More Money.
Okay.
Solid ass book. In that book, he tells the whole story anyway. But when he's done with this story, and I don't want to go into it because I don't want to tell the whole fucking story of this book, and I know you got shit to do too, my friend.
You good, bro?
But at the end of this, he finishes the speech and he looks around the room, and I feel as if he's looking right at me, okay? Because everyone in the audience usually feels that way.
Right.
But he looks right at me in my own eyes, at least, and he's like, "Write the damn book." That was May or June of 2018. December of 2018, I signed the contract to write the book that's sitting to your right shoulder right now.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Right. It was that dude's words that gave me the little piece of inspiration and push that I needed to go take that leap of faith and take action on something that for the longest time, I was like, man, I thought writing a book to me was a pipe dream. Man, I'm a blue collar dude from Long Island who's got tattoos. Right? Like, who's gonna fucking want to read a book from me?
Right.
Then I get into the right rooms with people like Ryan Stewman and Matt Monero. Ryan Stewman's got 13 books published, bro.
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
Right. So I get into the room with this dude, Matt Monero, and he's like, "Hey, just write the damn book." And for the longest time, I've been telling myself this myth, this lie that I didn't have the ability to do it. Or who's gonna read a book written by me? I'm just a car audio installer. Like that was just all the bullshit that I had fed myself for the longest time. And I owe it to that dude, man. It's funny. Things come full circle, right? I'll finish with this. I read the book from Matt. I wind up writing my own book. A couple months after my book launches, Matt and one of his other business partners throw a 2-day intensive event here in Dallas. I fly down at the time. I learn a lot of badass stuff from these dudes as far as implementing and actually making shit happen in your business. Speak to them there. And this past October, there was a guy in the room that was there also learning from these dudes who wound up growing his business to fucking boss status in like a year. Okay. So this dude who's a guest there reaches out to me and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "I seen you done some cool shit since you and I both sat in that room." And I said, "Yeah, man, same to you." He's like, "I want you to come speak at my event." All right, cool. Well, where is it? He goes, Caesar's Palace in Vegas, and I got Grant Cardone headlining. Oh, by the way, Matt Monero and Judge Graham are going to be there speaking too.
Fuck.
Like me? Like fucking me? Why me, bro? Like that's you think that way sometimes. So it comes full circle. Matt Monero's at the front of this room telling me one day write the fucking book. I go ahead, write the book, and wind up doing all the other work that's associated with it on the back end. And 2 years later, I'm sharing a stage with him, his business partner, and Grant Cardone.
That's, dude, I got goosebumps. That's so badass, bro. But that it all comes back to do the fucking work. Do the fucking work.
Get yourself into the rooms that you don't think you belong into as well. You know, if you got to pay a couple bucks to get into that room, do yourself a favor and pay that couple bucks. You may not see the ROI right there that day, but I'm telling you, it's going to come as long as you continue doing the work.
Dude, 100%. And that me and Drewby talked about that on our episode, was like earning a seat at the fucking table and, you know, doing the fucking work, you know, and also I think I mentioned on that episode, a lot of the stuff that like you're saying, I'm saying that they've heard, these people listening have heard a million fucking times over. You know what the fuck you gotta do. It's just that one fucking person that says it that you connect with where the light switch goes off and you just fucking do it. You already know what to do. Like you already know what to do. You, like you said, you already know you shouldn't spend fucking 2 hours on TikTok. It just takes that one motherfucker that says, stop spending fucking 2 hours on TikTok for you to finally be like, fuck, I need to stop spending 2 hours on TikTok. You know what to do. It's just a matter of fucking doing it. That's dude, I love it, bro. Well, shit, man. I greatly appreciate your time. I know it's extremely valuable. Please, guys, I'm gonna put the link to the to Unfuck Your Business by Tomas Keenan in the show notes. I'm also gonna drop the book that Matt wrote that Tom mentioned. Please check them out. If you don't know anything about Ryan Stewman or Apex Entourage, check it out. This is the entire reason why I'm even speaking to someone as educated and as professional as Tom is. So it's just all about shit, going back to what I just said, earning a seat at the table, I'm extremely honored to be here. There's a lot of information that you can take out of this podcast, but in all honesty, you can take all this information, but if you don't fucking do it, it doesn't matter. So if there's one thing that you heard in this podcast, please fucking just apply it. Even if it's something as simple as buy the book and read it. You should have already bought this book before finishing this episode. My name is Zack ROI Williams. This is the Return on Investment MF channel. And this is motherfucking Tom Keenan. You have any last words to say to the people before we roll out?
Fuck the haters and keep doing the work regardless, man. It's as simple as that.
I love it. I love it. Well, shit, guys, there you had it. In the show notes as well, you'll get all the contact information for Tom. Make sure to follow him. He puts out dope-ass content. And again, hit the book. But we'll talk to you guys later. Zack ROI Williams. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching that video. If you got anything out of that, check out these dope videos over here. They're going to be extremely similar. And let's try and help get you to that next level.